Does Twisters have what it takes to suck us into an enticing plot, or is it a complete and utter disaster? Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on the film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Twisters. Was it good, was it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know all that with respectful comments to everyone and what they all have to say about the film, what we like and dislike in our own regards. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you're not already, join the film culture community where we talk about all of cinema as a whole. But going right into the synopsis, the storm season in Kansas intensifies. A competing set of teams go about each other with their best gadgets in order to measure tornadoes as they go on the fight of their lives. And going right into positives, Lee Isaac Chung as the director brings out a really poignant look at the emotions of all of these characters and bringing in some interesting tropes with the ideas and leading off as a sequel of sorts from the first Twister movie. It's not necessarily a Twisters movie that you have to see the first in order to understand anything, because there's not very much correlation, if anything at all, because it's still a Storm Chasers movie that has its own merits and it redeems its own intensity by having some great CGI and the way that they build up the sound effects and the motions of the camera and everything that flows on throughout gives a great pace for the film as a whole, building up Gwen Powell in his own role and Daisy Edgar Jones in hers, and how they meet together in these competing teams and find their own commonalities in what you're dissecting out of those. And also getting Anthony Ramos has a great side role as well, with other supporting characters that deliver a good and well-grounded film that just brings out this natural disaster. It goes about many different events throughout the film while also having the downtime be purposeful to build up the characters, build up the events, and also the main goal of each of the characters, what they're going on with their lives. And everything that is going on throughout becomes compelling throughout because of the way they build up this gradual sense of intrigue, not only with the tornadoes and things that go about with it becoming more intense, and also having this opening prologue scene of the girl's life and how we're going about the trauma from that going on later in her life. It builds up a similar plot line to the Twister 1 movie, but goes about its own redeeming excellence by having its own modern technology, its own purpose of suggesting all these weather instruments from the first movie, but then going about this new plot and trying to do its own thing with what it's doing, taking it a step further. And while it's not anywhere more grand in what it's attempting to do with the plot synopsis, it builds upon its characters a lot more efficiently and being great within the way it makes us connect with each of their characters, their motivations for what they're doing and for what they're trying to avoid doing. And so it also builds upon the villain characters as the competing teams in a way that is not necessarily as silly or makes them look as dumb as what the first Twister movie had to offer. And so while that one had its own merits of being good as its own thing for its time, this one, while still having the same type of qualities, the same story structure as a whole, it delivers on a surprising and exciting adventures to go throughout the film, being able to connect with these characters along the way nearly from the start, and gives you a little twist along the way with what you're expecting out of certain characters and how that builds upon these other characters. And that just really brought about a great surprise, a great intensity for how you build upon the storm chasing sequences, especially watching it in theaters, in the big screen, the most intense sound that can really elevate the experience, the big picture screen, to really hone in on the surrealism of what this director, Lee Isaac Chung, is really bringing onto the plot. And that leaves me into mixed elements, where this isn't a direct sequel if you're expecting it to. It's not going to give a direct nod to too much of what the first had to offer, because it's a brand new set of characters, so I'm just letting you know what to expect going into it if you haven't seen it already, and just what you expect out of it. It has a similar plot line that doesn't necessarily have too much more around the complexity of the story structure, but there is more to the characters if that's what you're going in for. But the event itself is satisfactory, if not even more than satisfactory, for having all these tornado events and building upon the characters along the way that builds a sufficient amount of energy for what you're expecting to get throughout the film. There are certain characters, they're not as complex. Things don't always flow in a smooth sailing way, but I just still generally enjoy what this film has to offer for as a whole. It has its own merits, and while some things just take it back a bit, just what you're expecting out of certain ideas or how to becoming a more unique story than what the Twister movie had to offer, it just doesn't always have everything that you want. But even that said, I did enjoy this that much more than the first Twister movie, which I have to rate this movie as simply 8.5 out of 10. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Twisters. Was it good, was it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? And how does it compare to the first Twister movie, that we can all have a nice discussion down in the comments below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if you're not already, join the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, so make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.